feel it.
I mean, I don't feel like 100%, but
Like I said, Chris, you go.
thank you, Matthew.
Alright, let's go and get started so you guys can have half of your planning for today.
Not telling everything, that's
He,
can I go home?
as much as they see me go up and down, he understands. But I left early the last 2 days.
So what?
Yeah, I feel like I need to be here.
Thanks for coming. I'm Tina Enfinger. I've not met you personally yet, but I'm Tina Enfinger and I'm taking a Winthrop class, and they said smile for the camera, so here we are. What I wanted to talk to you guys about, Common Core is here, and we have to pay attention to using literacy in the classrooms. So what I'm doing, my focus is to look at literacy before you actually get into teaching your actual topic. So, I like the little quote that's up there. It says, if it excites you and scares the crap out of you, at the same time, it probably means you should do it. That pretty much, to me, if you're uncomfortable, or not really uncomfortable, but it's like it scares you because you want to do it, but you're apprehensive about it, that means that you're excited about it too, but you have to look at how you can implement something. That's the scary part, is how do I implement it knowing that I have to do this? There we go. Alright, why do we teach reading and writing in the content areas? I'm not going to take up a lot of your time and give you all these reasons why you should do it, because I know really why you're here is you want the strategies, is what you really want. But I do want to talk about this for a minute. Once you, as a content teacher, provide that first piece of reading to your student, you're teaching literacy, whether you think you are or not. Because those students have to be able to understand how to read specific text. And that's your job, to show them how to read your specific text. Not everything written in a content area text is absolute or fact, so you have to show them how they weed through your text in order to take out the information they have to understand and what is true or what needs to be investigated. Students have to be skilled at learning to read, at reading to learn, but they're never actually finished with learning to read. Even as a language arts teacher, I have to continue reading, and as I'm reading, I'm learning how to read these texts too. So just because I'm reading advanced level type stuff, I'm still trying to understand how to read certain types of text. No matter where you are in life, as long as you're a reader, you're reading and you're improving those reading skills. Just like our kids are. For the rest of their life, they'll be improving those reading skills. Alright, one more reason why you should be teaching reading and writing in your content area. 4 years ago, the National Institute of Health, a federal government agency, actually placed reading disabilities and the inability to read on the nation's list for life-threatening diseases because of the long-term effects reading has on their lives, or the inability to read has on their lives. It interferes with finding a job. It interferes with keeping jobs. It interferes with the quality of your life and how you feel about yourself. So not having these skills really does affect your life long term. That's kind of scary that the Institute of Health actually said, this is a disease. We have a disease going on because our kids aren't learning to read. Okay, well, I'm going to show you the things you can do in your classroom. Not that you're teaching a child how to read, but you're teaching them how to think through the text, which is really teaching them how to read. Alright, did anybody do the entrance ticket that I sent to you guys? Really, the entrance ticket is just a strategy to show you that your students can write at home and think about their content at home. And I actually have one for math. Let's say that you taught a math subject, or whatever concept today, and you wanted to see how your kids thought about it. Well, doing an exit ticket, like a lot of us do, exit slips, the kids are ready to get out of your class, because you usually do them within the last few minutes of class. They want to pack up and they want to get out of there. So the thought put into the exit ticket is not that much. It's just not very good. But if they go home and they're like, okay, this is your only piece of homework for tonight, and you count it as homework, then when they actually will sit down and they'll put their thoughts onto a piece of paper. So with this one, for example, the ticket says, I was confused about how to multiply fractions when the denominators aren't the same. How can I remember? So the teacher had just introduced multiplying fractions. Well, they've already talked about adding fractions, so she's confused now. When she walks in the next day and hands that ticket to her teacher, the teacher's gonna go, I need to work with this student on some kind of strategy to keep her to help her understand how she needs to think about this particular concept. When you can use the entrance ticket, when you're getting ready to teach a concept, before you ever teach it, find out what your kids know about it. Assign it as a homework assignment where students need to think about what they're learning before they actually make a comment. That way you know you're getting more quality comments than just something jotted down. Ask them to explain something from class that confused them, or explain what they already know about the idea. So just telling you what you already know, you're going to know, okay, this student feels good. I don't need to work on that one as much. Entry slips allow students to think about their background knowledge about the topic. It allows them to reflect on previous learning, and it also helps them identify what they truly understand. So you're actually getting a lot of really good thinking skills going on when they can sit down and think and identify and just kind of weed through what they know. What it allows you to do is when you get those entry tickets, you get a basic idea of what students already know about your topic. You get to see what their problems that they're having, and you also see what they're already mastered in, or what they feel that they're mastered in. Use the information for class discussions. As soon as they come in, okay, let's see what everybody's got. You can use it in a small group, or anything you want, any way you feel you can use them. But those are just a few ways. Common Core standards. I wanted to make sure that you could see how when you use these strategies, they really do relate to your content. This Common Core, this strategy for the entrance ticket, depending on what your question is, it can relate to any of your content. Yes?
That entrance ticket questions, is that after the introduction of the new material, or?
It could be. So let's say
or
that
prior to introducing new material?
you decide how you want to do it. So let's say that you're teaching a concept. I'm just going to do language arts because that's my thing. I'm going to get ready to teach a concept on drama. And I'm going to ask before I even talk to them about drama, I'm going to ask them a question about drama.
Right,
when they walk in there, I'm going to get an idea of what my kids already know about this unit. While I'm teaching drama and I'm teaching the vocabulary of drama, I might ask them, tell me one of the vocabulary words that you're really getting confused about. That way, when I see them the next day, I can go, oh, I really need to go back over these vocabulary terms. I have too many kids wishy-washy. So it's up to you how you want to do it. You're doing it before you teach the concept or while you're teaching it, but it's just a way for you to get information before you start your day.
I can see myself using it in various ways, especially with that I find with ESL students.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time we don't have schema or background,
Mm-hmm.
so it does make sense for me to even develop like even a small sentence that says, today we studied this, but I'm still not understanding this and that.
Right.
And
Or you might ask them, you might teach a concept, and you might say your thing for their entrance ticket is, think about another way you can apply this.
Right.
And they'll either go, I have no idea, or they'll give you what you need. But the point is you know two things. You know they got it, or you know they don't.
Right.
So that's the whole point. Another thing I want to talk to you about, I love anticipation guides. Does anybody in here use them? You do? I love my anticipation guides. But let me show you what it is. Anticipation guide, it is a pre-reading strategy. So before you even give your student the text, you're going to give them a list of questions. And basically what they're doing with the list of questions is they're activating prior knowledge. You're allowing them to discuss answers. And if they believe in something, they're going to defend it when somebody else tells them they're wrong. So they're actually having to think of reasons about why I'm right. So they're having to defend themselves. So they get really really defensive about that. Anticipation guides are used to prepare students who have a limited background knowledge on your topic. So I know that, science and social studies, you walk into class and you might not know anything about this context that's coming up, and it helps them start thinking about the text. The questions encourage discussion, discovery, and excitement about the reading. Because as they're doing the questions, they're like, oh, I wonder what my answer is. I bet I'm right. So they're really looking forward to the text. Okay, you've actually done this, haven't you? You came into a content area professional development that I did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've done this one, but it's so good I wanted to share it again. Basically, this is what you're doing. You're getting a piece of reading. So the example that I'm going to do is with this piece of reading for BodyWorks, and it's a science, and it's actually 7th grade standards. And so you identify a piece of reading, and then you put together a list of questions. You have to read it, and then you put together anywhere between 6 and 8 questions. Not so many that they're going to get, oh my gosh, let's get going, but enough to kind of get them interested in it. The students answer the questions on their own, and once they have the opportunity to talk about what they've come up with, then you actually read the text with them. So you don't just send them off with the text. It's a class discussion at this point with the text. You can set it up to be like a Likert scale with strongly disagree, agree, so on and so forth. It could be true or false, agree, disagree, a number line of 1 to 5. However you want to do it, it's really all the same thing. But this is the one I'm going to show you. This is a list of 8 questions. After I've read the text, I pulled out some information that I thought would really make the kids think. So one of my questions is, if you magnify your cells, it could look like a scene from a video game. Your kids are sitting there going, what? There's no way Mario Brothers is in my cells. This is not happening. So more than likely, a lot of the kids are going to say no. But when they start reading the text, they're going to find out that the answer is actually true. It really does. And of course, the text is going to explain why that would be true. The next one, or number 3 rather, when you run, your body will need up to 50 gallons of oxygen a minute. Well, a minute sucking in 50 gallons of oxygen sounds like a whole lot. But when your body runs, you're actually needing well over 50 gallons. I don't remember the number, but it's like 200 gallons a minute your body is sucking up in just 60 seconds. So when the kids see that, when they read that, they're like, wow, it really impacts their reading because they're now excited about what's happening and what they're actually learning. When they walk out of your room, hey, did you know that when you're running that your body actually uses? So it's stuff that they're reading about and they're learning about, but then they're excited about it because you caused that excitement in your class. With that excitement, of course, there's going to be learning taking place. There are 200 million tiny air sacs in your lungs. That's a lot of little air sacs in my lungs. That's 200 million. Can you imagine? Well, there's a lot more than that. When the kids read that, they're going to go, no way, no way. But the point is they're learning all this stuff and they're getting it. Common Core standards. You're introducing them to information that is beyond their background and beyond their own opinions. So they're actually getting information beyond what they think they already know. Book in a day. I do this quite a bit. When you do book in a day, what you're doing is well, first of all, let me explain this. I found this on the internet. I'd not actually used this before, But when I was looking at it, I thought, this is a really cool way to cover your textbook. And what you do is you just look through your textbook and you're in a unit. So what's one of your units that you do?
Graphing.
A graphing unit? Okay.
Well, polynomials.
Polynomials? Okay. So say that you're working with that concept. What you're doing in your book is you're actually selecting a part of the text. You want a group of 3 students. And I say 3 because if it's more than 3, you usually have one kind of hanging out and just riding the coattails. So 3 students, and you just kind of like copy and margin off, this is your chunk of reading. Go down the page, this is your chunk of reading, this is your chunk of reading. So what you're doing is, when you do it like that, they read their first chunk and they come up with a summary. They read their second chunk, they're coming up with a summary, and their third and fourth chunks, and they're coming up with summaries. What they're doing is they're looking at the text in chunks so that they're not feeling as overwhelmed as saying, read this whole page, because they're looking at it in chunks, and they can handle that, they can digest that. They're also looking at definitions and context, so they're identifying vocabulary words and what they think it means based on what they're seeing in the text. Down at the bottom, 3 most important parts. What are your 3 main ideas? What are the 3 things I'm going to walk away understanding about this piece of reading? The last thing, why does this matter? They're putting it in, they're putting themselves into the learning. Why is this important for me? So I really like that. Again, I've not used that, but I can see myself pulling that into my class. Okay, let me show you how I use it. We teach paraphrasing and we teach skimming, very easy concepts that you should teach before you do this. Basically, identifying information from the text and then saying it in your own words. So what I do is I take a book, and the examples that I show you, I actually took this book, and they're kind of short chapters, and I just copied the chapters. And I said, okay, you're chapter 1, your group's chapter 1, your group's chapter 2, chapter 3, so on and so forth. So I gave them chapters. They had to go off and they had to read over their chapters, and as they were reading, they were pulling out pieces of information. So once they pulled out their first piece of information, they had to talk about, well, how are we going to say this in our own words? So they're paraphrasing. So they have to find 6 pieces of information as they're moving their eyes down the text. They have to paraphrase it. Then they had to read in order to come up with some illustration that they could use in order to show that they understood what was going on. They have to include the title so we would know what their topic was, and then sharing. I'll talk to you about sharing in just a second. But what they need is, you need a book. You let each group have their own section. I've used this book. I've pulled out sections from this book, like somebody might get screws, somebody might get pulleys, somebody else might get wedges. So I've used that. I've also looked through this, and I found chapters that I know my kids are learning about in social studies. So I've just gone through and I said, okay, I want you to do heroes, or I want you to do architecture. So I've just copied the pages that they've needed from that. And if you notice, there's not a whole lot. And even in here, the sections aren't that long. Because the point isn't for them to read everything. The point is, I want you to learn something from this. This is what it looks like. This is from this book right here, Twisters. This group had to only come up with 5 pieces of information that was paraphrased. They had to include their visuals. And what I like about this is, and what you're going to notice in the visuals is you can see the learning taking place in the visuals. For example, the tree. I said, how come you didn't draw the tree tipped over? And they said, well, it would twister, the air is spinning, so it would like twist it off and not knock it over. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly right. So your picture is actually showing what you're learning too. Here's another one on wind. So it shows you how the earth and the sun, how you need that in order to create wind, and they have their facts up here. So their visuals are adding to their learning too. And this is before you've ever taught anything. They're getting all this pre-learning before you ever go, we're gonna learn about such and such. You can also let them use their iPads. This is a group that went on Show Me. And I think, Miss Neighbors, you use Show Me quite a bit.
Yes.
So I had partners, they were working with Show Me. They had to come up with 6 pieces of information that was paraphrased. They had to come up with a diagram all on their own to show what they knew.
Levers by Emily Hansford and J.C. Waters. Levers are simple machines. The force of the effort is equal to the force of the load. Fulcrum is
They had to share the reading so nobody dominated.
The effort is applied downward to move the load upward. If the load is moved closer to the fulcrum, then you gain the mechanical ability. Now you can see the diagram of the first class lever.
This is the diagram they had to come up with because I didn't want them to just get on Google Images and go here. I wanted them to prove they understood.
Effort, the force used to move an object. The fulcrum is pivoting.
Then they had to go to Google Images and they had to identify things that would back up what their topic was. So not only did they prove their learning, but you got to see their personality too. So it was really cool how they worked together to show you what they really know. And again, that's before you ever sat down and taught your vocabulary, your content. I mean, that's all pre-learning. Assessing book in a day. That's what book in a day looks like. This is how you assess it. Let's say that I've got the posters. They're big. So we take them out in the hallway and we hang them on the lockers. So I have 3 students standing in front of their posters. And I say, okay, everybody move to the right. So everybody just takes their stuff that I give them and they move to the right. Now they're going to talk about what they see. Because that discussion leads to the understanding too. So they're talking about what they see. And while they're talking, they're having to gather information. So this is what each person does. Even though they're working together, they still have to show me what they know. So nobody can turn in the same identical information. They get something like this. So this is wedges and screws and pulleys and whatever else. So they're on this, and then they're reading and they're like, wow, I really like this fact. So they're going to paraphrase that fact. They're not going to copy it because we're working on paraphrasing. So they're going to paraphrase that really cool fact, but they're not done because I want to know that they've learned really a great concept, not just one fact. So now they have to make sure they read the facts, they have to make sure that they understand the pictures, and they have to summarize that presentation. So when I look over that, I should not see any that are written identical. I don't want to see any facts written identically because everything's paraphrased. Summaries, those are your own thoughts. So even though they're discussing, they're not going, what did you say? That's independent work. Down here at the bottom, while they're looking, they're picking up vocabulary words, hopefully. And if they notice them, just jot them down here. And I ask for them to give me 4. Sometimes they don't have 4, but at least they're looking for them. Do you have a question?
Would that actually be similar to Jigsaw?
Jigsaw, it's a little different because with Jigsaw you have one person from the group. You have a group of 4, and they all go to different groups and they become a master, and then they come back to their original group. This is a little different because I'm a master in my topic. My group is a master in this topic, but by the end of but then my group never splits up. We're always together from beginning to end. So Jigsaw is a little different, where you have students moving around. When I set my group of 3, that's my group of 3 from beginning to end. And I like that because from beginning to end, they're learning only their concept, but by the end, they've gotten this and this and this and this and this, and they've gotten the time to learn it. So I like that, just a little bit better than Jigsaw. Common Core standards, there's quite a few, even writing standards for this one. So it's a really good pre-reading strategy to incorporate in your classes. All right, does anybody know about Thieves? Reading strategy, Thieves? It's really easy. That little booklet that I gave you, it should be the last handout that I give you. But it's really simple. Thieves is just a little acronym for what each letter stands for. The T is for the title. What you're going to do is, you know that your text, your content-specific text, is set up way different than library books. They're fiction books that they read. They're poetry. They're anything else. It's got a unique setup all on its own. And so with this, they're actually looking at your nonfiction text and they're going, oh, I have to look at the title. And then they're thinking, okay, well, what does the title mean then? What am I getting out of just reading the title? For the H, now they're only looking at headings and subheadings. What am I getting from reading just that piece of information? Now I just read the introduction. So as they're moving through the letters, they're gaining more and more information. And the reason I like this is because every single nonfiction content book that you have in your class, they're going to have those elements in it. So if they know that I need to look at this and this and this and this, and they know that they have to look at all that, then they're not going to take anything for granted. They're going to go, there's a visual there. I need to pay attention to it. There's a heading right there. I have to pay attention to it. So everything is there for a reason. I know I have to pay attention to vocabulary. So they're starting to look at it specifically. So again, this is the handout that I gave you. And the handout that I gave you actually has questions that you can ask them. It just makes it really easy on you. So as they're looking through their text, you could be saying, okay, well, let's everybody look at the heading right now. And then it comes with questions that you can ask about it. Come on, technology. So here's and even the end of the chapter questions will provide them with information, or if they miss something and they look at the end of the chapter questions, they can go, oh, well, this must be important. I need to go back and look for that. So even that provides them with information that's important to them. And these are the Common Core standards. There's again, quite a few of them because your text is very specific to your content. Okay, vocabulary. I don't know how you guys teach vocabulary. I'm just going to show you how we teach it in language arts and why we teach it the way we do. Before we give them words, we want to know what they know. So if I'm going to do a unit on poetry, I'm going to have metaphor, simile, alliteration, onomatopoeia. I'm going to have this list of words. Some of those words they know from elementary. They know that. Some of your students are going to remember words from 6th grade. So when they come into your class and you give them their list, all they do is they say, oh yeah, I know that word. I can tell you what it means. I've heard it, but I've seen it. I'm not sure if I really know it. and then just words I just plain have not ever encountered. So what you do with that is you go, okay, here's my words I know I have to teach. Here's a group of words, and my group of students that don't really know these words, I can work with them. And these are the ones I can just talk about and just keep moving on. So it gives you an idea of what you need to do in your class instead of spending the same amount of time on every single word. Such a waste of time when you can get information very easily just by letting the kids tell you. Plus it reminds them of what they know too. Why should you teach vocabulary in your content? Students have a better understanding before you actually begin teaching your topic. They've seen it, they understand it, they know it. Students, it builds or ties into their own background knowledge. So if you're talking about photosynthesis, they'll be like, oh yeah, I know it's exactly what you're talking about. I saw that happening in my house when I moved a plant. You know, it started to die. Students know how to pronunciate the word. I've taught vocabulary before, and I did the reading, the content before I taught vocabulary. I want them to know this word. So they encounter it in the text and they don't even know how to say it. So how am I going to expect them to know what it means if they don't even recognize it in print? So that's another reason why you should teach it before, just so they'll know what it is when they actually say the word. They understand the syntax of the word and how it fits into your sentence. If you're giving them a word, they know it's a noun, and they know basically, even if they don't know what the word means, they know that they have a basic understanding of it's a thing, you know, so it kind of helps them understand where it would fit in the realm of the content. Alright, don't waste time getting them to look up words. They've done dictionary skills in elementary school. Let you decide how you want to phrase it. If you give them the dictionary, there's like 10 different meanings on some of these words, so they're going to be way confused. Give them a very simplified meaning of your words, and depending on how many words they'll have, you can kind of break it down. Like today I'm going to teach 5 words, the next day I'm going to teach 5 words. But in language arts, we have when we do our nonfiction unit, we have like 30 words we have to teach. So we'll teach like 5 words a day. Copying is a skill they're going to have to do because it's just, you do have to have that memory and that eye, hand understanding, muscle memory. But we help them out a little bit, and this is what we do. If we have a bunch of words we have to teach, we go ahead and we print up all of the vocabulary, and then we take out chunks of it. So although they're still copying, they're not copying the whole thing, and they have to pay attention because I'm taking out the real meat of the meaning. So they don't really need to know everything, they just need to know I'm making them write the meaty stuff down, the thing that I'm really going to discuss. So we just do it that way. It just really helps out, and it's a time saver too, because kids aren't writing the whole thing down. They're writing maybe 4 or 5 words, tops, maybe just 1 word, depending on how we set it up. So it's just a really quick way to do that. When providing definitions, include some kind of a graphic and also use it in context. This is the word statistic. They get their graphic to show what the meaning of the word is. In this example, you have your definition, then you have what it is and what it is not. So they're getting that understanding, and I don't just show it to them, we actually talk about why this is and why this is not, so they know what the rule is when they look at that word. And this is using it in a sentence. They have to understand that a statistic comes from some type of experiment or some type of test. So they got the graphic for that, and then it's being used in a sentence the way it should be used in it, you know, with background information or with the content. All right, does anybody know what Cranberry is? It's a website that you can get on the iPad, or you can get on a laptop, or you can get on a desktop. It doesn't matter, it's not specific. But you can write your vocabulary words or you can give the vocabulary words to your kids and they can create their own flashcard. So I'm going to show you how they can create their own and how you can share yours with them. By the way, this is what the Cranberry site actually looks like right here when you pull it up. I love this site. The other day, we're getting ready to learn poetry and language arts. So I went ahead and decided I'm going to just go ahead and create a list of vocabulary words that I want my kids to study when they go home. So I got on Cranberry. And this is what I did. What you're going to get is you're going to get a blank card and you're going to type your word in. So I'm going to do like onomatopoeia. And then underneath that you're going to get another card and you type in the definition. But what I like about this, if you've ever used Kia, Kia makes you type in the definition. So if my word is onomatopoeia and I say it one way, but the kid knows what it means, but they type in the definition a different way, it's going to tell them that they're wrong. So what I like about this, as soon as it comes up, here we go, sometimes instead of typing the word, I type in an example. So like here, crunch, crunch, I sure love these Cheetos. Let's say that student does not know how to spell onomatopoeia, so they type in onomatopoeia right here. It's going to tell them they're wrong on Kia. But they're right, because they just don't know how to spell it, but they know that they're right. So what they do is they totally admit typing it in, and they just go in their head, oh, I know that one, that's onomatopoeia, so they can check their answer. And it tells them, you're right. So in their mind, they're going, that's onomatopoeia, then they can check it. So they don't have to depend on spelling and, you know, the way I say it and the way they say it. They can just say, yeah, I know it, and they can just check it really quick on their own. So these are words that I've created. I want my kids to have them. So what they do is they create their own account, and they say, Mrs. Infinger, what's the name of your word card list? And I say, well, Mrs. Infinger's poetry, that's what you need to type in. So they're going to type in Mrs. Infinger's poetry, and they're going to search. And then there's my card list right here. They're going to click on it. And then they're going to go, I want Mrs. Infinger's card list, so they're going to go to export. As soon as they click on export, every one of my cards will now be on their page. If they set up cards and I want to check it, I'll say, what's the name of your card list? I want to look at it. And all I have to do is type in what they tell me, and I can find their cards just like that. So it's just a way of, they can create their own cards as a way of studying, or I can create the cards for them, and they can pull my cards and put it on their own page. So they're not dependent on me for anything other than telling them what the name of the card stack is. Okay? So, let's just kind of back up a second. Does anybody have any questions about Cranberry?
Can I get to your account?
Can you get to my account? All you have to do is say, Mrs. Infinger, what's the name of your, I'm going to say that. You just say, what's the name of the card stack that you created? And I would tell you the name of it. So right now I've only done one as my demonstration, and this is the name of it. So if you want my set of cards, just log into Cranberry and type in what I have up here. Or if you just type my name in, it should come up. And it'll tell you all the cards that I've created. Okay? Another thing about this, if you decide to use this, you're going to go onto Google and you're going to type in Cranberry, but it's going to tell you that it costs $3.99. No. Go tell them, just say that you want the 14-day free trial. So what happens is that after your 14-day free trial is, you don't get a free trial anymore. But this is your account. So if nothing changes, it doesn't delete or nothing changes. You just all of a sudden are a user now and you just have a free trial. That's it. If you want more stuff to do, I guess you could pay $3.99 for it. But I'm okay creating my cards and letting students pull my cards for themselves. That's what I want from that. So anything that a $3.99 account would give me, I'm not interested in. So, I mean, maybe somebody else would be, but I could care less. So get the free one. Don't feel like you have to pay for anything. Okay, any questions about Cranberry? Super easy to use. Great for the kids to go home and check vocabulary. Standards for vocabulary. You have one main standard for vocabulary. Okay, what kind of questions can I answer for you guys? Questions about Book and Day. Questions about anticipation guide. Entry ticket. Vocabulary. Everything that I've talked about is right here in this little booklet. So all the handouts, everything that I've pulled up, they're sitting right in here for you guys. The copies aren't that good because 6th grade copier is going out. But I am putting this on the K drive, or the R drive. So I'll email you and let you know where my stuff is, and I'll put in all the handouts. So if you want to print your own nice, neat, dark copy, just go right there and print it out for yourselves. The only thing I ask is I'm going to send you guys a question about the presentation, because again, I'm doing this for my Winthrop class. I'm doing it because I want to, but I'm also doing it for the Winthrop class. But if you'll just let me know, what I could do to improve, or what was good, or whatever, just let me know. And it'll be anonymous, so if you want to say whatever, just feel free to say whatever. That's really it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So again, I will pick up stuff up before I leave today. So if you want access to anything, it's there for you, okay?
Thank you so much.
You guys enjoy the rest of your planning. And I get to go teach my lovely 6th graders. Then they're just a different kind of lovely.
Gotcha.
This book is put up with some of the papers for some